as a county, I agree with John, that the county itself should not be owning Great Streams Commons. But the county is extremely important from the standpoint of generating economic value. And if we're going to bring in more businesses and grow our businesses, workforce development is something that really has to happen, because we can't bring in the jobs if we don't have the people to fill them. But strong economies create strong communities. So that's why we have to focus first and foremost on creating that strong economy, because everything flows out of that. It's the only way you pay for things. It's the only way we can spread out the tax base enough so that our individual taxes can stay as low as possible, and hopefully add more services, at least have the services we have, and never have to look at another tax increase.
Mr. Allred.
I think it's the proper role of government to provide infrastructure for businesses, but not to pick winners and losers. Unfortunately, the Great Stream Commons was a debacle that has a can that has been kicked down the road continuously. We need to sell the thing, and that's the bottom line. I am the one advocating up here that we sell it within 6 months to the highest bidder, instead of passing this debt on to our children. Our current commissioners raised our property taxes, the debt service portion of our property taxes almost tripled when they took over Great Stream Commons, because it was bankrupt, it was foreclosed upon. It was a bad idea to begin with, and I'm happy to hear folks up here saying that. It needs to be said. But now it needs to be disposed of, and our taxes need to be returned to reasonable levels.
Mr. Booth.
Well, there are some facts about Great Streams Common that probably most of you don't know. And that is the former commissioners in 1998 floated a bond to develop Great Stream Common, pay for it first off, and then develop the infrastructure in order to stop the hazardous waste incinerator. That bond was paid for or provided. That money was provided to the Industrial Development Corporation, which is outside the county government, and they made the payments up until 2014. When they could no longer make the payment on it, they turned it over to the county in lieu of foreclosure. So the county had floated the bonds. The previous commissioners had decided to encumber the county taxpayers for that money. At this point in time, we all want to sell it. And we are moving down that road. We finally got the zoning changed so that it can be sold. And we have a new broker, and we now have some interest now that manufacturing is coming back on shore and to the United States.
Mr. Medina.
Thank you. What a great question. Yeah, there is this idea that we need to sell the Great Stream Commons, and I'm weary about it. Who are we going to sell it to? We're saying the highest bidder, but are we going to sell it to someone who wants to put a hazardous waste in or any other thing that can be harmful to our environment? We need to look at who we're going to sell it to and if it's going to benefit our county and not destroy it environmentally. There's many ways we need to have a vision of what we need to do before that. I'm always advocating for renewable energy, solar panels and wind, and if we want to bring back manufacturing, that's one of the things we can bring back to the Great Stream Commons. We can probably use their infrastructure. So I am advocating for that, and I'm proposing that we should explore that at least before we sell it. And if it comes to that we need to sell this, to whom and at what cost to the county and at what cost to the quality of life that we have.
Ms. Richards.
Luis, I think expanding and continuing with the clean energy economy in our region is a great idea. And I do believe, I disagree with Billy Allred, maybe we're airing our differences here, but I think that the purchase of Great Streams Commons by this county was a merger of great economic development potential as well as protection of our constituents in our counties, health, environmental quality, and open space. So I would not sell that. I think we have huge opportunity there with Great Streams Commons, but I want to very quickly talk about something else. And that is, I do believe that we should have, the county commissioners should have more conversation with our county members. And we should be talking about our vision for the county and making sure that our townships citizens are engaged in the vision of our county. I don't think we should be wasting your time airing our differences. I think we should be working together to plan our future.
Ms. Rucker.
Thank you. The Great Stream Commons issue, I have done some research on it. I confess it's not, something I know a ton about. But I do think that if we talk about economic development in this region, first and foremost, I would like to say that the idea that economic development and environmental protection cannot happen concurrently is a complete fallacy. I think, it's hard to argue that it isn't. No matter what you do, you can be responsible and you can save the environment this time. With respect to that issue, I think one of the things that we do need to look at is, again, infrastructure. There's all this information about rail and, all the utilities, but what we're not hearing talked about as much as, is the internet potential up there. In Allenwood, I believe there are 60% of the residents up there that only have access to one provider. Thank you.
Mr. Casimir.
As soon as I got onto the borough council, it became apparent to me that the whole trick of governing is balancing continued progress with holding on to what already works. In Lewisburg, we've been very successful with our historic and architectural review program and making the old houses look nice, and Lewisburg becomes a destination in that way. But it was always frustrating to me that if you wanted to retrofit your house to be all solar and completely off the grid, well, you couldn't do that because it didn't look right historically and architecturally. I'm looking to use innovation and outside-the-box thinking to see how we can, bring some of these things together. Why can't somebody create historically appropriate ceiling tiles, roof shingles that also are solar panels? Why can't we combine progressive ideas with traditional things that we know work?
Mr. Conley.
Thank you. Concerning Great Stream Commons, first of all, I don't know how many of you were here when we were fighting the hazardous waste incinerator. I was on the board of directors of Organizations United for the Environment, and we mobilized over 15,000 residents of the area who were very adamantly opposed to that project. I proposed that when the county commissioners purchased that property and took it out of contention for the hazardous waste incinerator, they did exactly what the county residents wanted them to do. Now, this far down the line, we haven't found the economic development opportunities that we'd hoped we would. And one of the things that I would propose is that we recast our expectations, our plans, that we pull the residents of the county in to get a different idea of what we do with Great Stream Commons. But it wasn't a mistake to purchase that in the beginning. A lot of things have happened economically since then, but it wasn't a mistake to purchase it. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have opportunity for rebuttal. A reminder, it's 30 seconds. I need to see your hands now if you want to give a rebuttal. I see two hands, Mr. Allred and Mr. Mathias. Mr. Allred, you may go.
Stacy mentioned open space, and that's exactly what we have up there, a whole lot of open space. And that's what we've had for 20 years. Something needs to be done. I want to respond, though, to what Louise said about, will another waste incinerator come there? And I'd say absolutely